I'm Tom Pace from Unstoppable Mindset. This is a video podcast explaining our new project, the Madman Part 1. Before I proceed, I'd like to introduce you to Mark Brooks of Brooks Studios, who is my videographer and has been documenting my journey from day one. And we've been trying to inspire, inform and motivate since early 2017. And this new project we're both very excited about, as is the team that's behind it, which is now forming, which is lovely to say actually, because it started with just myself putting together a small talk in my gym. Then Mark Brooks got on board and we've just accelerated. I feel we've accelerated over the last 2 years, and we've been doing all we can to tap into the minds of people, portray mental health, the mind, the thought process in a way that others maybe perhaps wouldn't think of and are not doing. And we're just trying our best really, and so far we've had a great reception from our audience through the seminars and through some of the videos we've done. This latest project is a little bit more off the wall and very, very creative on our part. It all started with a spoken word attempt by myself, which was a very unsure attempt by myself. I wasn't sure exactly how it was going to go down. And certainly when I first approached Mark Brooks, very unsure to say the least. Well, he wasn't a fan.
I didn't want to do it. No. We've done lots of other videos.
Yeah.
Anyway, spoken word poetry, straight away I'd say it's rap music. That's just how it comes across.
Yeah, absolutely.
I had no knowledge of spoken word poetry. You introduced me online to a couple of performers, Kate Tempest.
Yeah, you can see obviously from that he still hasn't got to grips with any artists.
So you showed me a couple. It's very good. Definitely not my cup of tea. When Tom sent me the wording for the very first one, which was the smoke
disappears,
smoke disappears, he done a quick recording on the phone and sent it to me, and I was like, no, this is no, I just don't see this working.
He was cringing.
I was. I thought it was a bit cringeworthy because I've never seen you do that before. I thought it was very, very, very creative, but did not see how or why did you? Why did you come up with this?
Well,
stuff
no,
anyway?
I mean, again,
I
it was really, it was just really spontaneous, and there wasn't any real thought behind it. And the only reason, to be honest, because I do feel it was really hard for me, because I was hoping that people didn't sense any ego behind it, any sort of hint of me sort of trying to be somebody or trying to create some fame out of this whole journey. Is not the case. I actually, me and Mark had always used kind of epic music scores for our videos. So if you look onto our YouTube channel, you'll see Unstoppable Mindset original video, which we did it early 2017. The Silence video, which is my favourite, which was also done to an epic score, and then a few other things we've done on a smaller level. We're all done with this kind of epic music. So Mark actually got me into that kind of music, and I was always listening to it to try and write words for, like, you know, a motivational video, which was what we had committed to do from the very start. We'd committed to doing some motivational videos with inspirational words that would help maybe inspire and be insightful and maybe lift people from a darker place. And we were getting that feedback, but with this one it was obviously slightly a bit more elaborate. But I must stress that it was very, very natural and very quick, and the words came very fast. And that's because they were from the heart and from 3 years of experience since since my breakdown. And that's a very, very important part of this message, is that all of these words are coming from that experience, from a darker place to a much, much lighter place. So we're calling them spoken word, not because I think I'm a spoken word artist, because some of the artists out there are way and above what I can do, in my opinion. I'm just writing from the heart, and obviously we needed to say, well, what is this? So we obviously are putting it into that category. Some people may disagree, but that's what we're doing. So yeah, it was very spontaneous. I'd given it to Mark, and obviously despite all his uneasiness and my nerves, to be honest, as well, about putting this out there, I was very unsure. Mark filmed it in a location that you chose.
Oh, well, the first one.
Yeah, the first one was
just an underpass. We had to do it pretty quick. I think neither of us had much time. We did it in one take. I've filmed musicians before, but this wasn't done how I'd filmed them. It was just done totally different, and it still worked. We did it all in one take, put it out there, and you got a good response. So naturally, if you get a good response, you're just going to keep following it.
I think that's important part of that as well, because I said to Mark, I said, look, let's just let everyone decide. If we get a few people that are feeling it and are relating to it or inspired by it, then let's go with that, and let's be daring and try and maybe do something with the concept over the course of a year. So when we put it out on social media and we sent it to family and friends, we got a great response. It was a lovely response, and people were really connecting with the words and feeling inspired. So I said to Mark, I said, look, let's commit to this over the course of a year, and let's put several, maybe try and maybe do 7 or between 5 and 10 of these, whatever we could do, time allowing, because we both have other commitments, working commitments. So we'll try and do it, and we'll go along and we'll see what we get. We'll try some in one way, and maybe the people won't like them, and we'll try some in another way, and we'll let the people decide, really. If they slay me for it, luckily for Mark, he can say, well, Thomas just paid me today. It has nothing to do with him. It all falls on my head.
It wasn't my idea.
People might say, who do you think you are? But again, it's really important that these are all compassionately done with a reason. In 2017, I'd done a small talk at my gym, and this was before Unstoppable Mindset was created, and it was about self-awareness, self-control, looking within and making changes to your life for the better if you believe that is necessary. And since day one, that has had a strong response from people. We've had some beautiful stories of life transformations based on Unstoppable Mindset seminars. The seminars will absolutely continue. My work in mental health and speaking corporately and publicly will continue. My message is one that I won't actually stop trying to put out there until people just are not willing to listen. And at the moment, people are willing to listen because we are living in a sad era, unfortunately, and mental health cases and suicide cases are on the rise, and all ages are being affected. So the spoken word was just, can this be another way that we can draw people into our message? Is this another way that people might look at me and say, raise awareness, exactly. People might see it and go, I really, really like those words. And they might say, okay, there's a seminar coming up where he's actually going to explain the video. He's actually going to explain the concept. He's actually going to give the viewer and the listener advice on how to combat some of the things I'm talking about, like depression and anxiety. So, yeah, so that's really the reason why we're doing them. It may be that after a year we stop and we move on to something else, but that's not before we have pushed and launched and people have embraced the Madman concept.
Which is a new one. And
so, Mark, do you want to just explain, before I explain to you the process, the concept, and the method behind the Madman, Mark Brooks, can you shed some light to the viewer, as in, how did you come up with the visionary ideas and the visionary concept for the Madman? How did that come to you?
Okay, so you came to me and told me a rough outline of what the video will be about. I don't think you gave me the wording. You gave me the track, and at the time before, when was this? Back before you went to India?
This would have been, I wrote this towards the end. It was either at the end of January or the beginning of February.
That's right.
So I actually gave you the concept and the music towards the end of February, middle to the end of Feb.
Yeah, so gave me the music, and I was just coming up with this idea of how Tom would act as the person inside your head, obviously doing the spoken word poetry, how his movement would be within the video. And don't know why. Just I was searching around on YouTube, and I thought, oh, the Prodigy Breathe video, the way Keith moved around in that video, would work. So I put the music track over the top of the Breathe video and just filmed it off my phone and just quickly sent it over to you and said, I think this erratic movement works. I think it was a few weeks later. A few weeks later, you went to India.
That's right. So I gave you the thing in Feb, and then it was just at the very end of Feb, early March.
By that time, you'd laid the words down with the track. You'd sent that over to me. You'd gone to India, and I was playing around on the computer just again with the wording, and also using the Breathe video as like a reference and inspiration on how to achieve certain imagery. And a notification popped up on Facebook, and there was someone had shared the tragic event of Keith Flint passing away.
Rest in peace, and wishes and blessings to all his family.
Absolutely. And then a week later, I think the news broke that he'd sadly committed suicide, which kind of just. It was really freaky in terms of what I was doing at the time.
Yeah, it was really strange, and it was at that point, it was literally at that point, then we basically had decided together instantly that we would pay a very subtle tribute to Keith Flint, which I won't tell you what that is, but if you look very, very, very closely to the detail, in the video, you would see that.
And then from there, I had to look for sort of locations. Came across the studio that I found, and it had everything there.
It's great.
Everything just gelled. It was like it was meant to be. We went down and had a look at it.
Sold
straight away.
Instant.
The minute we walked through the door, I was like, yeah. We had the use of the whole of the studio, so I think we made pretty good use of it. And then put it together.
We put it together, and as always, as a team, we were really strong. And obviously, what you're going to see on the 13th of May, at the start of Mental Health Awareness Week, is an insight into the thought process, which brings me to what the Madman is about. When you hear me reference the Madman, I am talking about the voice inside the head, which you may experience as a commentary throughout the day. When something happens, the voice, the Madman, would crop up. He is the voice of self-doubt. You're unsure about something. Maybe you have an urge to do something good, but then a thought process kicks in of worry, of fear. What if it goes wrong? You will notice that the thought process inside the head can be a perceiver of the worst case scenario, which I personally have experienced in my life. On a subtle day-to-day basis, the thought process is giving you real-time feedback on decisions about what you should drink and what you should eat. He is the source of people's misery when it comes to someone trying to change their lifestyle. Someone tries to change their lifestyle for the better. It is the Madman that you will hear that will say, go on, you can just have one. And then when you have the one, he'll say, go on, you might as well have another one. You've just blown your diet now. Then when you've blown your diet for 24 hours, the Madman will then creep in again and put you down and say you're worthless, and tell you how uncommitted you are and how you'll never succeed. He will also encourage you to have a drink and then beat you up for having that drink. He is the one that creeps up when you are feeling quite positive and you've got maybe a new job on the horizon and you go for a job interview. He is the one that will enforce the thoughts of, what if it doesn't quite work out? What if you don't say what you want to say? It is the distraction and the frustration of your day. If you stop and listen just for 24 hours, if you pay very, very close attention, which are going to be some of the things that I will actually shed light on as we go over the four short spoken words. I will be giving you advice and tips along the way based on what I'm presenting to you in each video. If you was to step back just for 24 hours and listen to the thought process, you will actually hear that most of what the thought process is not that constructive to your day, and is actually quite mad, which is why people's perception of things can be slightly obscured. So jealousy can emerge, anger can emerge, worry can emerge, fear can emerge, doubt can emerge, and it's all of those things that fuel emotion, that create all these powerful feelings inside of you, that then strengthen the thought process more, which enables the madman to then come at you with the most some of the darker thoughts that then lead you into depression, lead you into anxiety, and then unfortunately can lead to suicide. Now, one of the things that I'm going to constantly be reinforcing over the course of this project, the situations between why people get depressed and why people can get anxious and why, unfortunately and very sadly, people will commit suicide, they can vary. The situations can vary. One person, debt can be the trigger that could lead them into a spiral of negativity that could lead them to suicide. Someone could have their partner cheat on them. That could be the trigger that would lead them to a spiral of negative thought, negative feelings, negative emotion that would then push them towards suicide. The one common bond that we all share in this whole platform of mental health, which is a blanket term which we're going to use just for depression, for negative thought, for anxiety, for suicide. The one common bond that we share is the voice inside the head. Now, not to keep going over old ground, but I was sectioned under the Mental Health Act, and it was the thought process that drew me in to a very, very dark place. The thought process that I want to call the madman. The reason I call it that is for you to have almost a separation from it, for you to start looking at it as a voice so you can observe it, to start to pull yourself and objectively look at what's going on inside your head. Before someone has a breakdown, before someone is at their lowest point, you must understand the thought process inside their head is erratic, it's fluctuating constantly, it's fierce, and it's triggering dark emotion and dark feelings that is then coming back and strengthening the voice even more. It's very, very common for outsiders and friends and families of someone that's had a breakdown and someone that's committed suicide to say, well, I don't understand, he was fine, I saw him days before and he was okay. Why is that? Because it's going on inside there. It's the madman that's talking, the thought process that's going on inside there. If you know what you face, if you know the enemy that you're up against, you have a chance of fighting back. The Madman Project is a chance for me to give my view and my opinion on what I believe is the sole main factor, contributing factor of all of these problems we face. It's the thought process that's going on inside your head, and I want to shed a light on it that will not be seen and is not being done anywhere else, and then at the same time give you, the viewer, the listener, advice and tips over the course of this year through seminars, through the podcast that will back up each Madman video, and through written content that I'll be putting together over the course of this year to help you take a stand against the thought process inside your head, to learn how to control it, to learn how to separate yourself from it, and to learn the one key truth that you are not the voice inside your head. And if you don't identify with the thoughts, and if you don't believe in the thoughts, they have no power and the madman will disappear.
What's it all about? That voice in your head.